The following program is sponsored by CBN.
Coming up, the rancher who was hit with a $20 million fine for building a pond in his front yard.
For doing that, the government threatened to ruin his life and his family's life.
Hear how he's fighting back against a government run amok. Then, a Godwink Christmas. Hear the stories that inspired a Hallmark movie. Plus, a vet who was awarded a Purple Heart and the Congressional Medal of Honor.
I wear them their honor, not mine.
A war hero honors the soldiers of yesterday and today on today's 700 Club.
Well, welcome, folks, to this edition of the 700 Club. You know, if you live in America and you're a citizen of America and you wake up during the day, you're going to break some law. Guaranteed. Every day, because there are 500,000 laws that have been passed by agencies of the United States, not by the Congress, by agencies, 500,000. It makes us a nation of criminals, and we have a shocking story of an outreach or overreach by one of the federal agencies. We'll bring that to you as we talk about the nations of criminals. But worse than that, though, the people of California are suffering. It is the worst forest fire in the history of the state. And from both ends of the state, you think of that little town of Paradise, gone, completely wiped out, off the map, gone. I mean, the whole town of 20-some thousand, gone. And they're down in, Malibu, some of the premier residences. It's really north of Sacramento. It's one of the deadliest fires, as we said, in the state's history. And with the death toll rising, hundreds of people are still missing. It's a tragedy. We need to pray and just send our love to California because they need it. Terry?
Well, meanwhile, as Pat mentioned, flames tore through Malibu mansions and working-class subdivisions, forcing about 250,000 people to evacuate. Mark Martin has the story.
The fire in Northern California is known as the Camp Fire. It's left massive destruction about 100 miles north of Sacramento.
They're all around me. What do you mean? There is nothing left.
The Camp Fire has burned more than 100,000 acres and destroyed thousands of homes and buildings.
There ain't nothing to go back to. We're basically homeless right now.
Take a look at the town of Paradise, California. Burned out vehicles are on the roads and the local hospital is destroyed. Governor Jerry Brown is calling for a major disaster declaration.
This is not the new normal. This is the new abnormal. And this new abnormal will continue, certainly in the next 10 to 15 to 20 years.
President Trump urged California to improve its upkeep of forests, tweeting, "With proper forest management, we can stop the devastation constantly going on in California. Get smart." As thousands evacuated, more than 200 people remain missing. Meanwhile, the Woolsey fire in Southern California rages on, leading to mandatory evacuations for 250,000 people. That includes all of Malibu. The wildfire leveled multi-million-dollar homes.
Do not return to your homes. The evacuation zones have not been rendered clear or safe by first responders.
Some of the thousands of firefighters battling the southern fire have called it a hurricane of fire. They've already been fighting the flames for days and are preparing for the situation to get worse. Mark Martin, CBN News.
Well, you know, the name California means hot coast in Spanish. Wow. It's a hot coast, but I don't think anybody in the early days has ever dreamed that it would be like this. But those Santa Ana winds coming in to intensify those flames, 40 and 50 mile an hour wind, casting a wide blanket of ash all over the state. So anyhow, it's going to take a miracle of God. Maybe a serious rainstorm might put those things out, but right now, I don't think there's any, they're putting huge tankers at work to try to drop fire suppressant, water, and other chemicals on the fire. But it's just incredible. I mean, years ago, I was out in Montana doing a firefighting thing with the Forest Service, and it was nothing compared to this. This is so, and the firefighters, they're all in danger. If those things shifted a few degrees, suddenly those guys are trapped, people are trapped, and you see that little town of Paradise, all those cars are burned. Please pray for California. I know what you may or may not feel, but pray for them. Well, it's happening again. The other side of America, it's not a firestorm, it's a storm of election controversy with national implications. Ephraim Graham has more of our top stories from CBN News. Here's Ephraim.
Pat, for most of the country, the midterm elections have come and gone, but they're far from over in Florida. A statewide recount is underway to decide the Senate race and the governor's race. And the recounts come amid charges of fraud and incompetence. Amber Strong has this look at the votes still being counted.
Only people vote. In the Sunshine State, the battle for the ballot is getting downright ugly.
Bill Nelson's a sore loser. He's been in politics way too long, 42 years. He just won't give up.
The state is in the midst of a bitter recount, including the races to decide who heads to the governor's mansion and who resides in the Senate. Sunday, Florida's Secretary of State announced a recount, which triggered automatically when the GOP leads dropped to below 0.5%. On election eve, GOP candidates Rick Scott and Ron DeSantis seemed destined for victory. But an onslaught of late votes from Broward County and Palm Beach County closed the gap. Republicans are crying foul.
They didn't report on time. We still don't understand how they went in these two counties and had dramatically increased.
The Florida courts agreed there was improper action, charging Broward County officials failed to turn over ballot records. Now Scott is filing a new motion against both counties, hoping to impound and preserve all voting machines, tallying devices, and ballots when they're not in use. Democrats contend it isn't fraud, but democracy at work.
No one should stand in the way of the people of our state exercising their right to vote and to have their voice heard.
The Florida Department of State also says it has yet to receive any credible allegations of fraud. But Broward County has been plagued by accusations of political incompetence in years past. While Democrats say it isn't over until every vote is counted, Scott says he's moving forward.
We won. The citizens of the state won. I'm going to be going to D.C. and I'm going to do exactly what I did in Florida, try to change the direction of the country like we tried to change the direction of Florida.
And right now, even the recount seems to be in trouble, as some of the 67 districts fear they won't be able to complete the recount by Thursday's deadline. Amber Strong, CBN News, Washington.
Meanwhile, another Senate race seems to be slipping from the Republicans' grasp. In Arizona, Democrat Kristen Sinema has increased her lead over Republican Martha McSally. Sinema now leads by 37,000 ballots, or nearly 2% of the overall vote. The Cook Report has declared Sinema the winner, with about 200,000 votes still to be counted. House Democrats are wasting no time announcing their priorities when they take over in January. They say number one is challenging acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker and his authority over the Mueller investigation.
He should recuse himself for any review of the investigation because of statements he has made already in the public domain.
Some charge Whitaker's appointment is unconstitutional because he's not been approved by the U.S. Senate. But President Trump's advisor, Kellyanne Conway, said the president's lawyers approved it. While the Democrats are not talking about impeachment, they're expected to launch investigations into the Trump administration. Congressman Adam Schiff told Axios on HBO, Democrats will investigate if the president used instruments of power to punish the press. Pat?
Well, a press man is misbehaving during a press conference and won't relinquish the microphone and keep shouting at the president. So he's used his power to, no president should, he's the top man of the United States, and he needs to be respected. I don't care what you think about him. But in any event, ladies and gentlemen, this Mueller investigation, they have had hundreds of thousands of documents. They have interviewed countless witnesses. They have gone hither and yon. They have had like a hunting license throughout this nation to do whatever, and they've had virtually an unlimited budget. And when it's all finished, despite the fact that he has hired a team of pro-Democrats to conduct the investigation, they have had no evidence, and I use the term advisedly, no evidence of collusion with any Trump campaign and any Russian entity. And that was what their mandate was. They haven't found it. Now, there have been interrogatories given to the president, and he has answered them. They have gotten that, and there's a press release coming out by the two attorneys that represent the president the next day or two that's going to say, you've got all you're going to get. This is the end of it. And I think Mr. Mueller, Bob Mueller, is going to cease that investigation before maybe Thanksgiving, but certainly before Christmas. It's all over. He's done everything that he's been authorized to do. And once that's done, then you don't need lawyers and the Democrats adding to an appropriation measure a proviso that says we've got to protect the Mueller investigation. It's all over, folks, and they need to understand that. And this Whitaker is a fine gentleman, and he is certainly legitimate. He's holding his office as he should. And I think what's going to happen is after the Mueller investigation is wound down, and he is sent to the Attorney General, I guess to Ron Rosenstein, he's going to send his finding. It's going to be confidential. He'll send it to him. That's the end of it. And for the Democrats to be fulminating about we're going to add all kinds of legislation to protect it, it's nonsense. So just keep that in mind, folks. That's the lay of the land. That's what's going to happen. And I would think once Mueller is gone, Rosenstein will be gone. Matt Whitaker is an excellent man. He'll be running the Justice Department. And then there'll be others, consideration for a permanent replacement. And he might be it. I don't know whether the rules will allow him to do it, but he doesn't have to recuse himself from anything. So in any event, keep eyes, but don't listen to what all these people are saying, because there's a lot of smoke going on that's just nonsense. Ephraim.
Pat, we want to turn now to the ongoing immigration controversy. The number of immigrants illegally crossing into America with their families is skyrocketing. In October, more than 22,000 parents and children were caught at the southern border. That's 40% higher than any month on record. A growing number of those migrants are coming seeking political asylum. It's creating a serious crisis for Border Patrol agents who have to deal with that surge. As Chuck Holton now shows us, the approaching caravan will only make matters worse.
In 2017 alone, more than 330,000 migrants made asylum claims, and less than 40% of those were found to have merit. The current system has been unable to keep up with the flood of asylum seekers, which has led to a backlog of more than 800,000 cases, according to the DHS. Now, with several large caravans making their way north to the U.S. border, the Trump administration is deploying more than 7,000 troops to help. Their commander, Northcom General Terrence O'Shaughnessy, recently toured the South Texas border to see the need firsthand.
We've been given a very important task to help harden the ports of entry and try to make sure that our Customs and Border personnel can handle the vast numbers that we're expecting to see in this migration.
Okay, so this is downtown El Paso. We're right on the border fence here. That's Juarez, Mexico, across the Rio Grande there. You can see the river is very shallow right now. You can walk right across it very easily, and many people do. They do that in this area a lot because this fence is what they call the old tortilla curtain. It's so easy to breach in today's environment that it needs to be replaced, and that's actually exactly what they're doing. If you look over here to my right, you can see some construction going on. That's them in the process of installing new and much more substantial fence, but that's not part of Trump's border wall. The reason that they're putting this in now is because this area has become really, really busy with migrants crossing illegally, and when they do that, it's extremely expensive for the American taxpayer.
I mean, we're starting to see diseases that we hadn't seen in decades here. Smallpox, chickenpox, all of that. You add that to the cost of the removal proceedings. You add that to the dangers that we as a community face, and people don't realize that.
The Trump administration recently announced a new measure to discourage illegal border crossers. Anyone caught entering the country illegally will not be eligible for asylum. It's a controversial move, but it doesn't mean the migrants will be turned away. The military on the border is working long hours to help the Border Patrol prepare to handle thousands of legal asylum seekers.
Specifically, they're initially looking for that engineering capability that will allow us to harden the points of entry and make sure that we are able to provide barricades, provide an ability for them to be able to process large numbers of migrants that will come in.
The men and women of the Border Patrol are very glad for the help, but they say in the long run, what they really need is a wall.
If you just look, I mean, to cut through this is going to take a lot more than it is to cut through with just, I could use my Leatherman, I could take it out and I could cut through that. This, it's been repaired all the way through. It's just section after section like this where it's been cut.
By entering the United States at a place not designated as a port of entry, you are committing a crime. And we need to make sure that in the metropolitan areas we have the best barrier we can have to give us the right amount of time so that we can persuade people not to come across, and if not, then we can make a safe apprehension. It buys us time.
In the meantime, with more than 1,000 migrants a day attempting to cross the Rio Grande, the Border Patrol will take all the help they can get, and the U.S. military is answering the call. From El Paso, Texas, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
1,000 migrants a day. Pat?
Somebody's paying for that. Somebody is putting up the money. There has been a flood, an absolute flood of money into the Democratic coffers during this past election. It is unbelievable how much money has been spent. You look at that one election in Texas, it was just appalling how much hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars was spent, the most in history. And I dare say somebody is funding all of this stuff. We talk about Libre as a group down in El Salvador or Honduras, but I don't think it's just one or two radical organizations. I think we don't know, for example, who, but somebody's putting up big money because these people have to be fed, they're housed, they're given literature, all this stuff. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, Latin America has got a lot of people in it. Hundreds of millions of people, and they can't all move to the United States. It isn't that we don't love them, it's that they're not nice people that we don't want to associate. We want them to be free and have a wonderful life, and we want to do everything to help them. But we cannot afford to take on people who have disease, people who don't have any jobs, people who are not working. We can't, no nation can do that. It isn't that we're not compassionate, we are compassionate, but we can't be forced into something. And unfortunately, the Obama administration let the bars down and actually welcomed people, and then the Congress has refused to act. We must fix the immigration law. What are those people paid to do up in Washington? They've got to pass a serious legislation. They haven't been able to do it. And there's so much politics involved, and they won't put in a comprehensive immigration law. We are a nation of immigrants, let's face it. All of our ancestors, except the Indians, came from somewhere, and we didn't start out in this country. So there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, we've got to do something to pass comprehensive immigration. It isn't just a wall, it's Congress to act. They were going into rump session right now. There's no reason they can't put this through at this point of time. Ephraim.
Pat, world leaders marked the 100-year anniversary of the end of World War I in Paris Sunday. President Donald Trump joined French President Emmanuel Macron and dozens of others to celebrate the day. More than 66 leaders gathered in Paris for the occasion. President Trump also visited and delivered Veterans Day remarks at the American Cemetery and Memorial outside Paris, where more than 1,500 Americans who died during the war are buried. World War I ended at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. In America, November 11th is Veterans Day, when we celebrate the services of all members of our armed forces, past and present. Today, many government offices are closed in observance of Veterans Day. The CBN News Channel has special Veterans Day coverage. You can see how one branch of the military trains men and women for service. Follow the stories of 4 young recruits as they undergo training to become sailors in the United States Navy. You can check your local listings and CBNNewsChannel.com for the Veterans Day documentary, Making a Sailor. Pat?
Well, thank you very much. And for all of us who are veterans, of which I am one, we are grateful for a day. But it's a shame they don't have Veterans Day on Monday instead of Sunday.
Yes. Well, I guess technically we are. My granddaughter's out of school today, and lots of schools
got
are
it as a holiday.
closed, but not businesses.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, what's next?
Well, coming up, he put a pond on his 8-acre ranch in Wyoming, and the EPA came calling. Hear how this rancher wound up facing more than $37,000 a day in potential fines, not to mention jail time. Another shocking true story from our Nation of Criminals series after this.
Okay, imagine this. You're a farmer. You're in the middle of the country, and you have some livestock that you want to get some water for. And so you decide, look, I'm out in the country, and wouldn't it be nice if I had a pond, and maybe there's some wildlife that might like to drink the water if I put in a pond. And so there's some birds to come, and I'll have some fresh water for them, and it'll be real beautiful, and it'll be ecologically friendly, and it's something I'm going to do. Okay, then assume that somebody in the EPA looks at a Google map, doesn't go to visit your property, looks at a Google map and reads it wrong. And then he decides, look, this guy out there in the heartland is breaking the law. And we're going to bring all of the resources of the federal government down on his shoulders. Well, it happened. In our ongoing investigative series, CBN News has reported on an out-of-control system of federal crimes and resolutions. 500,000 crimes made up by federal agencies without active Congress. Well, that could make us a nation of criminals. Today, our reporter Paul Strand introduces us to a Wyoming man who said, I'm not going to take it, I'm going to fight back. Here's the story.
In 2011, Andy Johnson obtained all the necessary government paperwork before building this stock pond on his 8-acre ranch in Wyoming.
He worked with the state, the local government, got all the sign-offs he needed, and created a pond in his front yard.
And since we've built the stock pond, not only does our livestock benefit from it, but we've had eagles, we've had blue heron.
Former federal regulator Ray Cagle Jr. insists the pond benefited the environment.
It had the added benefit of creating quite a bit of nice habitat for fisheries, wildlife, waterfowl, and wetlands in general that were created because of the pond.
Johnson says it even filtered the water from 6 Mile Creek that he was using and made it cleaner. But none of that was good enough for the Army Corps of Engineers or the Environmental Protection Agency. The EPA demanded that Johnson dismantle the pond in 30 days in the dead of Wyoming winter or face serious fines, because they said he'd done serious wrong. Jonathan Wood of the Pacific Legal Foundation.
He should have asked their permission first. And for having not done so, they demanded he remove the environmentally beneficial pond or pay up to $20 million in potential fines.
The EPA has came in and threatened to take everything that we've ever known.
More than his money was on the line.
Almost every environmental statute includes criminal provisions, so you could go to jail and face criminal fines for things that most of us take for granted on our own property, like moving dirt from one place to another.
The potential fines were about $37,500 a day and piled up into the millions because Johnson ended up in a long, hard fight against the feds.
We suffered many sleepless nights. We're still fighting the battle.
Johnson and his lawyers announced in 2015 they were suing the government over its treatment of the Johnson family.
And seeing what the EPA is doing to this family, it made me so angry.
How much power do we want to give unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats?
Wyoming's 2 senators wrote the EPA. The compliance order reads like a draconian edict of a heavy-handed bureaucracy.
It's just devastating to think that our government, the country that we live in, that I work so hard and pay taxes to, is now attacking us.
I think the thing that people connect with in the Andy Johnson story is he's just like all of us. He was doing something that most of us would probably do on our own property without even thinking about. And for doing that, the government threatened to ruin his life and his family's life.
The bureaucrats accused Johnson of violating the Clean Water Act and potentially affecting navigable waters they believed 6 Mile Creek fed.
Someone went to the computer on their desk, pulled up Google Maps, and based just on that, accused this man of violating the law.
Wyoming attorney Dan Frank points out how they made mistakes in reading the maps.
Had they ever gone out, they would have found that it dead ends in a canal and it doesn't ever reach a navigable water of the United States.
By just going by the map, they also mistook how the creek flowed.
They assumed the water was flowing uphill. If they had gone out and looked at the property, they would have found the water flowing the other direction.
The only thing that makes sense from my experience as a former federal regulator is that the government quite often, in my own personal experience, does things that don't make sense.
Given the mistakes his team uncovered, Johnson felt compelled to fight for as long as it took.
I decided that I was not going to tolerate our government telling us exactly what we can and can't do on our private property.
Ultimately, Johnson and his legal team won. The EPA backed down and gave up the fight. Wyoming Senator John Barrasso wrote after the government caved, "This settlement is a welcome rebuke of an agency that has gone too far."
The government has incredible leverage over you. They can ruin your life and ruin your family's future if you don't do whatever they say. That's why it was extremely brave of him to fight back and say, no, you've exceeded your power. I haven't done anything wrong.
In the end, the EPA didn't get even $1 from Johnson, and the pond still exists, still benefiting the environment, which you think the Environmental Protection Agency would appreciate. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from outside the EPA in Washington.
I would like to call on President Trump to he loves executive orders. He could nullify all these agency rules with the stroke of the pen, then make them go to Congress. If Congress wants to pass a law dealing with ponds in people's backyards, then let Congress do it. And let the voters decide whether they want to keep congressmen who do that. But these unaccountable bureaucrats, they are a danger because they don't think like people. They think like machines. Imagine making a decision based on a Google map that is erroneous, thinking that the stream flows uphill instead of downhill. I mean, how crazy can it get? 500,000 laws, ladies and gentlemen, a nation of criminals. We're going to do everything we can to speak out against it until somebody fixes it. Terry?
Andy Johnson, God bless you for standing up. Well, up next, a 95-year-old veteran who was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor and received the Purple Heart. Even so, he says he's not a hero.
I've always said the heroes are those who never got to come home. They are the true heroes. They still did it for us and America. So they, to my mind, are the heroes.
Woody Williams recalls his combat service as a Marine and describes how he was an eyewitness to what became the most iconic photograph of World War II. Well, this holiday season, we invite you, our partners and viewers, to join us in a family tradition of the Robertsons. Each year, they give a special gift to those in need equal to the money that they spent on their holiday dinner. So when you send a special gift of $25 or more, we want to send you a CD of Pat reading A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Pat brings to life Ebenezer Scrooge and Christmas past, present, and future. Plus, you'll also receive Christmas, the story behind the traditions from CBN documentaries. Filmed in 8 countries, it takes you around the world to discover the history of Christmas and the meaning behind some of the traditions that you love to celebrate. So both the CD and the DVD are our gift to you, and you send your gift of $25 or more to bless those who are in need. This holiday season, it's a great way to make a difference. If you'd like to participate, call 1-800-700-7000 or visit cbn.com today, and you'll receive yours in time for Christmas, both the CD and the DVD, and I think you'll love both of them.
I make a pretty good Scrooge. It was fun.
No comment.
It really was.
That was a setup.
Yeah, really. But I
was
think
it fun? Yeah, that's a great story.
The writing is so brilliant, and it's so easy to get into those characters. Tiny Tim and Bob Cratchit and all those people.
Yes, it's a great story. A wonderful Christmas tradition.
I hope people like it, but the fact that, on the other hand, you've got our crew going to places like Lapland and Finland to look about the reindeer, and in the Middle East to find out about Father Christmas. I mean, it's a fabulous gift. It really should cost a lot more than $25.
Well, at the same time, you'll have the satisfaction of knowing you're changing the lives of people in need this season. So
Amen.
We hope you'll call.
Well, today is Veterans Day, is being observed all across the country, and we'd like to introduce you to an American hero who's still going strong at 95 years young. He's one of only 4 Medal of Honor recipients from World War II who's still living. Here is our salute to Herschel Woody Williams.
They've been called the greatest generation. But Woody Williams, a 95-year-old World War II veteran, a recipient of the Purple Heart and the Congressional Medal of Honor, doesn't consider himself as great or heroic.
I've always said the heroes are those who never got to come home. They are the true heroes. Regardless of how their life was sacrificed, they still did it for us and America. So they, to my mind, are the heroes.
Woody experienced combat for the first time at Guam in 1944. And 7 months later, his heroic efforts on the small island of Iwo Jima were a key component of overtaking the island. His captain asked him to attack a Japanese pillbox with his 70-pound flamethrower. Woody then chose 4 fellow Marines to give him cover.
When the commanding officer said, "This is what we're going to do," you never questioned that or say, "Well, why should we do that?" Or "I don't want to do that." That just never was done. So I don't know that I had any particular apprehension about going with the flamethrower. That was my job. That's what I'd been trained to do. And when he said, "Will you do it?" What am I going to do? Yeah, I'm going to do it.
The 4-hour attack was successful. With its success and others like it, the Marines took control of the lone airstrip on the island.
All of a sudden, Marines around me, I'm talking about 3 or 4 or 5 Marines that were around me, now are saying something about a flag. And they're firing their M1s into the air. And I guess curiosity got the best of me. I want to know what they're doing, you know. So I don't remember whether I stand up or just look around, but here they are doing that. And they're pointing toward Mount Suribachi, you know, saying something about the flag. But I turn around and I see the flag on Mount Suribachi. But when I saw that, and these other Marines are doing this crazy stuff, I start doing the same thing. You know, because here now, Old Glory is flying on top of Mount Suribachi. That was one of the first things that you did to make sure that the Japanese knew we're here, you know, and Old Glory says we are.
The iconic photo made headlines around the world. Woody remembers Joe Rosenthal, the man behind the camera.
I talked to him 2 times before he died, and he told me it was just an accident that he got that photo. He had that big old camera that they carried. I think it weighed 14 or 15 pounds. It was a big thing. They developed the film, then sent it on the AP wire to the States. There is the picture. He did not know himself. He didn't know what he had. But I think that the flag on the front page of every major newspaper in the country did something for America. I really do. I think it lifted the whole spirit.
The following October, President Truman decorated Woody with the Congressional Medal of Honor.
I don't remember what he said to me. I was so scared, you know. I never thought I'd see a president, certainly not that close, you know. And that was a day, of course, I will never, ever forget. And it wasn't until months later that I realized that I received the medal because of others. Not just because of what I did. Others made it possible for me to receive it. My commanding officer, the witnesses that were willing to testify. Had they not been willing to do that, you would have never heard of Woody Williams at all. So I have, and particularly 2 Marines who that day, I had no idea who they were. And I didn't learn until this past October who they were. 2 Marines that day sacrificed their life protecting mine. So even though I didn't know their names, I did realize that happened because of the testimony that others gave and the way we talked when we got back to Guam and that sort of thing. So I've always said I'm just the caretaker of it. I wear it in their honor, not mine. No. And I still feel that same way today.
Woody is also a veteran of the Christian faith. He accepted Christ as his Savior on Easter Sunday, 1962. He taught Sunday school at his church for 42 years. In 2010, he established the Herschel Woody Williams Congressional Medal of Honor Foundation. The foundation honors families and relatives who have lost loved ones in service to their country. The foundation has erected statues in 38 states to honor the families.
And these monuments that the communities are putting up, I'm not doing that. I'm just a cog, I'm just a wheel, a motivator of something. But the communities that are doing that take a great deal of pride in the fact that they are, for the first time in our history, recognizing those who made that sacrifice for all of us. We couldn't be the country we are. We couldn't have the privileges that we have if it were not for those individuals who are willing to go into the armed forces and protect the values that we all treasure. So every veteran has a pride in his soul. He may not express it, but deep down in his soul, I believe that every veteran feels good about what he did to keep America, America.
That's an eloquence I don't think any of us can match. My congratulations to Woody and that Gold Star concept. I mean, it's just wonderful that we would honor the fallen heroes and those who served. And, you know, for all of the veterans, of which I am proud to be one, I'm a Marine. You're never a former Marine. You're always a Marine. I was in the Korean engagement, and it's one of those things. The Marines have just been, well, Woody is a Marine, and Semper Fi, Marine. God bless you. Terry?
Well, in addition to honoring our veterans, we also want to support our active duty military. Recently, we met a Marine whose transfer orders got canceled after he had already moved his family to their new duty station. When he had to move them back, he got hit with the bill for all of those expenses. These added costs were crushing the family's already tight budget until they got a visit from CBN's Helping the Home Front.
Sergeant Sal has served 13 years in the U.S. Marines, deploying 6 times to Afghanistan and Iraq. When he's home, Sal spends time with his wife Alma and their 2 children. Sal says that he couldn't give his best to his country if Alma didn't give her best to the household.
Consider myself very lucky, having a wife like that, raising my kids. I'm not there, but because of her being there, she gets to share those stories as they're growing up.
When Sal received orders to transfer from Camp Pendleton, they moved Alma and the children early so the kids could start their new school on time. They had to take out a loan to do it, but they knew the military would reimburse them once Sal reported to his new command. But after the family moved, Sal learned his transfer was canceled. He called Alma to tell her there would be no reimbursement for the move, and they were stuck with the expense of moving Alma and the kids back to Camp Pendleton.
I felt sad and angry. It's just feelings of frustration because you technically don't own your life. You just have to do what you're told.
Sal and Alma had to budget to pay back the loan. At the same time, their vehicle needed repairs they couldn't afford. So Alma got a part-time job and Sal started working a second job on weekends. The couple relied on their faith to stay positive.
I have faith in the Lord, faith of my wife, and we'll get through it.
Just a few weeks later, CBN's Helping the Home Front got a call from their church, St. Michael's, asking for help.
It was a
a situation where we needed to move quickly, and I was very impressed with CBN's response and how quickly they were able to do something to help us out.
Father Ed Harris asked the couple over to tell them CBN was paying the loan for their moving expenses.
The debt that you incurred in the situation was difficult, and we're going to do everything we can to eliminate that debt so that you don't have to worry about that, so you can spend time with your family.
I have no words, Father. Never expected it.
Father Harris had another surprise.
We want to do what we can, partnering with the 700 Club, to help you get your car fixed. Whatever it takes to get it fixed, we're going to help you. We want to do something else to help, and so we're going to take you on a shopping trip, and we're going to let you get whatever it is that you need for your children to get them ready to come back to school. But we want you to know that we're with you and to know that you're not alone in this.
I'm speechless. I'm very, very, very grateful. I never thought there was any type of people like that to help other people. It's not always dark. There's light at the end of the tunnel.
After they dropped off their vehicle, they went shopping to buy new school clothes and supplies for the children. This family can now move forward with less stress.
I could not say it in words how grateful I am to St. Michael's and you guys, CBN, for what you guys have done for our family.
Listen, joining the 700 Club allows you to just invest in the lives of people like this, good, hard-working people. Sometimes people in other parts of the world that find themselves in difficult situations. Join the 700 Club. You really can make a difference right from the comfort of your own home. It's 65 cents a day, $20 a month. It's a phone call away. Even the phone call is toll-free. It's 1-800-700-7000. Just call now. Say, I want to join the 700 Club. When you do, we want to send you Pat's latest teaching, Miraculous Blessings. We think this will be such a blessing to you because there are amazing testimonies on here. But also, Pat teaches from the Word, how do we align ourselves with the will of God so we can be blessed by Him? And by the way, if you'd like to give specifically to helping the home front, to honor our military, those who are in active duty, we just invite you to designate your giving when you call. So again, our number is 1-800-700-7000. Well, still ahead, the couple who put the word Godwink in our culture and in the dictionary. Squire Rushnell and Louise Duarte talk about their new book, Godwink Christmas Stories, and the new Hallmark movie, A Godwink Christmas. This dynamic duo join us live, and they're coming up later in our program.
Welcome back to the 700 Club. Pastor Rick Warren of Saddleback Church in California is recovering after emergency surgery. Warren was hospitalized Thursday and underwent immediate surgery for an intestinal condition. In an email sent to church members, Warren thanked everyone for their prayers and said, quote, "God has been good to me." Warren also said he will need a second surgery after Christmas. CBN International is helping children in Africa who have lost their parents to the Ebola virus. Many of the children in Guinea were left orphaned and as a result stopped attending school. CBN International teamed up with the president of the Evangelical Protestant Church to help get the kids a proper education. CBN's Superbook team purchased school supplies such as pens and school bags to give to them. The children were able to return to school and even learned about the love of Christ. You can find out more about what CBN is doing around the world by going to cbn.com/international. Pat and Terry will be back right after this.
An event or personal experience often identified as coincidence, so astonishing that it is seen as a sign of divine intervention, especially when perceived as the answer to a prayer. Well, Godwink is the term coined by our dear friend Squire Rushnell and his wife Louise Duarte. Take a look.
With more than 1.5 million books in print, best-selling authors Squire Rushnell and his wife Louise Duarte have inspired readers with their popular Godwink series. In their latest, Godwink Christmas Stories, they feature a collection of extraordinary things that have happened in the lives of 30 people at Christmas time. One of those stories inspired the Hallmark movie, A Godwink Christmas, which premieres Sunday, November 18th, starring Kathy Lee Gifford.
Well, Squire and Louise, we welcome you back to the 700 Club. This is old stomping ground for you guys.
This is family for us.
Yeah.
You know, we were just saying in the green room how so many of the Godwink stories happened because we would watch the 700 Club, and Squire and I would say, "Oh, that's an amazing Godwink," and then we'd call up people here and say, "Do you have the number of that person? We want to check that out." And that's a lot of the stories in our books are from the 700 Club.
I mean, just such a plethora of books that have come out of this concept, and just for people who, I don't know who they might be, but who wouldn't know what a Godwink is, Squire, where did that term come from?
Well, it is a new word in the language, and it fills in the vacancy for what you would have otherwise called a coincidence, but you knew it wasn't a coincidence.
Yes.
So what do you call it?
Yeah.
So when Godwink came into my mind, what was it, maybe 13, 14 years ago, the moment it came into my mind, I thought, gee, that sounds like a friendly word, like Godspeed, Godsend, God winks.
Yes.
And I went and I took out all the words coincidence in that first manuscript, and it fit.
It worked.
And the most important thing is that when people started using it, it fit in the language because it moved very quickly into the language.
So you've written so many books. Louise, what made you decide to pull together Godwink stories for Christmas?
Well, everyone loves Christmas. And also, God has been kind of taken out of Christmas a little bit. And we wanted to bring him back in to show that God is with us at all times. And there's some sweet stories in there, too. Ones that I think people will relate to it, but also they'll look at them and see how God at a certain place and time came in to give them a special wink, a sign that said, "Hey, kid, I'm thinking about you. I love you. You're not alone." And you know, in Proverbs 3:6, it says, "In all your ways acknowledge him and he'll direct our paths." Well, that's what Godwinks are. When we acknowledge him, when we pray to him, he will create Godwinks along our path, like signposts along our path. Godwink by Godwink. Yes, letting us know how much he cares about us.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about the Godwink story in the book that's about to become a Hallmark movie.
Well, it is in this book, and it is a story about some friends of ours who live on Martha's Vineyard, innkeepers. And the story is a true story for Hallmark, so that in itself is a little unique. It is called A Godwink Christmas. It's got G-O-D in the title of the, of the movie. Yes, that's very unique. So it's the story of Paula, who is a young woman in St. Louis. She kind of accidentally says yes when the guy asked her to marry him, and everybody around said, "Oh, he's the guy for you." And so she felt trapped that she had made maybe the wrong decision. And she has an aunt on Nantucket, who played by Kathy Lee Gifford, Aunt Jane. And so she goes to visit Aunt Jane just to sort things out. She gets there and Aunt Jane sends her to Martha's Vineyard because she's got a business meeting herself. So she says, "Go to Martha's Vineyard. It's an island nearby. Go antiquing." Well, the fog comes in, it delays the flights, and the fog was the Godwink in itself. And there was a wonderful, handsome guy sitting by his car at the Martha's Vineyard airport, and that was her way to get into town because all the cabs were gone because of the weather. And so Gary Conover and Paula had that first meeting through Godwinks, and then the whole movie just unfolds and it is against the beautiful backdrop of Martha's Vineyard.
Well, listen, speaking of weather and the beautiful backdrop of Martha's Vineyard, you had a Godwink moment with some snow that you had wished existed.
Yes. Because we were doing the exteriors on Martha's Vineyard, but shooting a lot of the movie in Canada. So the director was coming to the vineyard, and it was early in December last year, and I said to Squire, "Oh, honey, we need snow. We need a blanket of snow because it's a Hallmark movie and it's Christmas."
I said, "It doesn't snow in December on Martha's Vineyard."
I said, "Well, then we've got to start praying."
Yeah.
So we started praying for snow, and all of a sudden the snow started coming down. Terry, it was a Godwink in itself. And then the director came, he shot all the beautiful shots of Martha's Vineyard with this beautiful blanket of snow. And on the last shot, it went up to 45 degrees, rain came down, snow was gone.
Unbelievable. Well, I just want to mention the book is a great Christmas gift. It's called Godwink Christmas. It's available wherever books are sold. But make sure you tune into the Hallmark channel. That's next Sunday, November the 18th, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central for the premiere of the movie A Godwink Christmas. Don't miss it. Thanks, you two.
Thank you.
Always wonderful to
All
have
right.
you with us. Pat?
Thanks, Terry. Well, they're a great couple. We love them. We leave you with today's Power Minute from the Psalms. For he shall give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. Tomorrow, we've got Fox News host Steve Ducey and his wife, Kathy. They're going to share family recipes from a book called The Happy Cookbook. You don't want to miss that. And till then, this is Pat Robertson. For all of us here at CBN, goodbye. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.